Hello and welcome to another Rightly Witterings with me, Michael Jex, the tea drinking author, with a delicious cup of good old fashioned builder's tea. Now, I had a very pleasant meeting yesterday with two patrons, whatever they are, but they're delightful people. They come down for a holiday every year to Cornwall, and very often we try to meet up, and yesterday we managed to. Unfortunately, as usual, I managed to suggest a day when the pub is shut. It's something I managed to do last year as well when they came to visit, so we just sat in the house and had a coffee. But one thing that they did say was, why do I never talk about Viscontis anymore? And I thought that's actually a really interesting question. So let's get into it. Now, I've got several Viscontis. I have an incredibly garish one, which actually I adore because I can never lose this, even in a patch of grass. This is so day-glow neon bright that I'll find it. I do love also the fact that the cap is just magnetically attached. I like that. It's a simple detail, but it's nice. Not so keen on the section because it's a bit cylindrical, and I reckon in a hot sunny weather my fingers might just slide down. But you know, it's a simple pen. It's got a really good Visconti nib. It's cartridge converter, so it'll take standard universal cartridges. It is a very good functioning pen that fits in my pocket easily because it's short enough. The clip works very well with these Visconti clips designed by Dante Del Vecchio years ago when he was at Visconti, and it's a really good pen. But it's not my best Visconti. My best Viscontis are kept in here because one has to look after his pens, don't you know? So let's open this roll up. And it's a roll that holds 6 pens, but only 4 are relevant today because one in here is an absolutely gorgeous acrylic opus. One is a little more difficult to get out, but I love this. This is a lever fill Conway Stewart 58 that is just lovely. It's such a small pen. It's absolutely ideal to keep in your pocket, and the gold nib is lovely to use. It's a large broad and I just adore it. But that's not what we're here to talk about, is it? We are here to talk about these other 4 pens. So let's go through them in sequence. First of all, there is my first Homo Sapiens. Now, I got this, I've no idea how long ago, must be 10 to 12 years ago. I ogled it on the internet for donkey's years, and it is one of those pens that I just love writing with. Simple medium nib, gold. Hide my face away so you can see it a bit more clearly. Gold two-tone. It has this wonderful bayonet style fitting, so you just turn it a very small amount and it's released. Does that make it uncomfortable to hold? Actually no, I don't find it, because my fingers sit far forward on the section and my thumb is behind. Some people have said that they find these ribs are uncomfortable though. Well, that's, yeah, it's a matter of personal taste. Why do I like this pen? Well, I love that simple mechanism. I love the resin that it's made from, because this is made with pounded volcanic ash from Vesuvius or Etna, I forget which. And it's got a large reservoir because you unscrew this, pull it out, stick it into a pot of ink, push the thing down again, and it creates a vacuum behind a plunger here which just sucks ink up, and it's brilliant. It's delightful, it's effective, it's a absolute joy to write with, and I love that pen. But the thing was that I got chatting to Dante Del Vecchio because I had this brilliant idea that I was going to help promote fountain pens by writing a book longhand. I mean, other people do it. I thought, easy enough. You just pick up a pen and start writing, don't you? And when you think about it, Terry Pratchett's friend Neil Gaiman, he has always written his books longhand. Jeffrey Archer, he too always writes longhand. And I thought that would be an interesting little thing for me to do, to write a book longhand, and then there would be something in the archives for other people who were interested in me, if there is anyone, that they could look at. And so I spoke to Dante Del Vecchio and said, would you like to get involved in this project? And he said, yes. How could I help? And I said, well, what I really want would be a pen that I could use to write this book. And he said, what requirements would you have? And I said, well, first, I would like it to be made of really strong, resilient material so I can take it with me wherever I go and write with it without worrying about the pen getting scratched. He said, yes. I said, I really like the weight and balance of the Homo sapiens. He said, yes. I said, if there's any way to increase the capacity of the ink reservoir, that would be good, because at the time he already had dual reservoir power fillers, and I thought that would be an interesting mechanism. And he said yes. And I said, if it was possible, it would be really good if I could have some sort of measure of how much ink was still in it, so a window of some sort, so I could see how much ink was left in it. He said yes. And then in addition, I didn't actually suggest this, but I've got to mention this. I love the fact that at the very top of the cap, you can hopefully see that with this style of pen, it's got a magnet in the top and you can attach different types of end piece. So I've got MJ for Michael Jex. Didn't think of that, did you? And he said, what about something along these lines? And he made this for me. This is the prototype Skylight, I believe. So I have the MJ in the top, and if you're clever, you'll see that one MJ goes with, yes, that's right. One I have the clip uppermost, one I have the clip downmost, so I can tell by looking at the pens which one is which. And just me fiddling, but it's good. So same pen, same clip. It's got an ink window along here, both sides, so you can see through it and see how much ink there is in the main reservoir. It's got a second window here for the second power filler. He made this in a fine nib for me so that I can write fairly small on paper, get more words per page. It's got the same bayonet clip, which works superbly well, and it's got the dual reservoir power filler. Now, I was enormously delighted with this, and it was my go-to pen for quite some time. And then Visconti, after Dante sadly had left, asked me if I'd like to review some other pens, and so they gave me this one, which is a production model of that wonderful pen. And then they also sent me this one, a Crystal Dream, which is the same sort of pen but with this full window, if you like, so you can see what's going on with the ink. And I have spoken at length about these four pens because they are some of my very favourite pens ever. They are all greatest of all time style pens, to my way of thinking, because this resin with pumice stone or whatever you want to call the lava is fantastically resilient. So why do I never show them anymore? Well, he says dropping things. The answer to that is the thing that's in my pocket now. This is the Pineider. It is designed and manufactured by Dante Del Vecchio. Now, this does not look, to my mind, as valuable even as the most simple Visconti with this wonderful resin. So why on earth would I prefer this? There are a number of reasons that make this my daily carry pen almost without exception. One is, actually the resin is stunning, because there are videos on YouTube, I haven't got a link, but you can look it up yourself, with Goulet pens I think, where Dante has one of these pens and he clobbers it with a hammer and the plastic doesn't break. It flexes, it doesn't scratch, it doesn't get damaged in any way at all. That's good. This is a much slimmer pen. You can tell that just by looking at the two side by side. The cap is considerably thinner and so is the main body of the pen. Why does that matter? Only that when I'm writing now, if I'm writing a lot, I want something that is lighter and slimmer. It feels slightly better in my hand. I don't want something too slim, but something that is not quite as chunky as the old Homo Sapiens works better for me. I adore the fact that the cap is another one which is a straightforward, easily removable cap. That's nice. I like the fact that if I want to fill it, I merely turn the end cap a short distance and it's got a bayonet fitting. So I don't have to go through the process of untwiddling, unscrewing the end cap before I can operate the mechanism to fill it with ink. So with this, I just flick it once, pull it out, put it into my ink, press the plunger down, and it sucks ink up to almost completely fill that massive reservoir. And yes, it has got a separate, smaller reservoir at the front, so it's very similar to the Visconti operating systems. It is slimmer, it is light, but that wouldn't detract me from one of these. So what is it that makes this absolutely sing for me? It's that. That is a solid gold, and Dante calls it, because he designed it, a Hyperflex nib. You can see it's got a slot cut either side there and there, as well as this wonderful buttery smooth, fabulous nib. And that is why this is my standard pen now. I say go-to. I've still got my Conway Stewart Drake here, which I just adore. But if I'm going to be writing a lot, if I'm going to be taking a pen away with me for a period, I may well take one of my Viscontis if I'm going away, because these do hold a huge amount of ink. But if I'm just taking the one pen to keep myself going for a week or so, this is almost certainly the pen I would take, because it is light, it holds a vast amount of ink, and it writes superbly. I just love the amount of variation that I get with every piece of writing He says, throwing more paper on the floor. My desk is currently in one hell of a state. So just opening a page at some work I've done quite recently. My writing is not good when I am just writing in a hurry. But the thing about this pen is that it is not the most beautiful writing in the world. In fact, it's pretty dreadful. But every letter is nicely unique. And what I love about this pen is that every downstroke is that little bit fatter, every side stroke is that little bit slimmer, every upstroke is that little bit finer, and your writing develops its own personality much more when you're using a pen like this. Do I like the looks as much as, say, and this is still my favourite looker, or these two are. I really love these two pens. I think they're very English in style. There's no gaudiness, there's no flash elements. You know, this is a nice looking pen, but these bronze fill-ins just don't quite work for me. With the windows here, just having a plain slot, I think, makes it more attractive. This, the oldest of all of my Visconti Homo Sapiens, I think is just superb. I love it. It's very tactile, it looks good, it feels lovely, it's got the smallest reservoir of any of them, it's got the ability to write for not very many pages because it's got a medium nib, the others are all fines. It's not as flexible as the others because the others, being fines, have a bit more line variation. But it's a lovely looking pen. It's one of my favourite pens of all time. But this is the one I carry all the time. Is there a problem with this? There are a couple of things I'm less keen on. The colours are not the best, I don't think. But although that's a con, there's also a pro to it, which is that if someone was to see a pen like this, they might think, like stealing a Mont Blanc, that's worth having. Someone sees this, they'd think that far less so. This doesn't look as expensive a pen. Other cons, well, one is it is very long. So if you want to fit it into your shirt pocket, he says, trying to get his fingers out of the way, it is about a ½ centimetre, maybe a little bit more, longer than the Visconti. And that means it won't fit in your shirt pocket so well. It sticks out, it protrudes from the top, even in a shirt like this, which has a fairly good deep pocket. But there's one other pro to this which I really like, and that is there's no glue used in the manufacture of it. Dante has promised me that these are made entirely without glue, so they're a great deal better for the planet. But I don't know. What's your view, basically? I've got to ask you this because I still think that these are just gorgeous. That is probably still my favourite in terms of looks. The prototype, which has suffered, you can see that the writing on the clip has almost completely worn away, and it's not been used as much as this one has, where the writing is still, if I can get the sun on it, still perfectly clear. Look at that. The clip is still fully painted up. These two, This is my least favourite looking pen because of the gaudiness of the ink window. This, again, don't really need these bronze spacers here, but as a pen I love the fact you can see the ink sloshing around. I like seeing ink sloshing around, it just appeals to me. I'm a strange person like that. So all of them I am very fond of. It's not as if I'm going to throw any of them away. But as a practical, useful pen, this is the one that I have every single day still. Now, if that was interesting, then do please feel free to go down and hit the like button and then subscribe and all those other good things, because they make it so much more worthwhile for YouTube people, because every time you hit a like, it means that YouTube is more likely to use the algorithm to spread the news about this channel that other people might be interested in. And that helps because we get more viewers. So like and subscribe and hit the bell button and all those good things. And if you're so keen that you'd like to support the channel properly, then you can go to the Patreon link, you can buy me a coffee, you can do various other things. However, one thing I've got to just say is this has been purely because of visitors from Patreon last week, and it was yesterday, and it was really delightful to see them, and I'm very grateful to them for the idea of, why don't you show the Visconti anymore? That's why. A number of reasons why, but they're good reasons why. So I'm just thinking, what was the other stuff? Yep, so it's dimensions and length and what it's made of. So, the other thing I've got to say is I have just redesigned my website. It is currently live on michaeljex.uk. If you're interested in the old one, that's still up on michaeljex.co.uk or .com. And if you're interested in me and my books, please go to michaeljex.uk, have a look through, and if you find any typos or areas of infelicitous documentation or pictures, please let me know where there's a problem and what you're looking at the website on, because with the best will in the world, I am alone. I've designed the website myself. Blocks on WordPress drive me nuts, and I know I'm not the only person who finds that. And that, I think, is about it. So let's just put up a quick video of some dogs and then I'll leave you in peace. Thanks a lot for watching. Don't forget, if you want to support the channel, Patreon, buy me a coffee, all those good things. But in the meantime, thanks a lot, and I'll speak to you in a week's time. Take care.